It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be covering Season 9 Alliance. The new special rules is the Bombers and Magic Cookies have given a 8% attack bonus, and Healing Cookies have a crit increase percent of 10%. So, with that in mind, our main team that we're going to be focusing on is Cream Unicorn, Clotta Cookie, Yam, Financer, and Eclair, with the robes, scroll, and the clock so that we can increase our speed output, our damage output, and our overall survivability to get through all these waves. So the shields from Eclair are going to be super helpful. The extra boost of damage to Clotted from Financer are going to be great. The resistance for Financer altogether. The damage resistance being applied by Cream Unicorn. The speed from Yam. It's just going to all blend out really nicely together. So we're going to go ahead and push that together as one big team. Then we've got this like pseudo super healing team. Basically our biggest, healthiest, chunkiest units pushed into one for when we need them. We've got our speed team for wave 44. We've got our super damage team for Sorbet's round. And then we've got our overall magic candy team to just try and carry us through any hard situations that we need done. So let's go ahead and get into it, and we can discuss toppings on the way. So the main team, this is going to be handling quite a lot. It's got a lot of speed, it's got a lot of power, it's got a lot of oomph. So if you need a team that's going to carry most of the waves, this is definitely going to be one that's strong enough to do so. Purple Yam, the magic candy, self-sustains. Gives damage resistance, gives healing, gives speed. Purple Yam is amazing for Alliance for a lot of reasons. Clotta Cookie gets damage resistance just by the skill itself, and gets it from Financer in addition. So between those two things and Cream Unicorn, you're going to be getting a pretty high damage resistance cap on Clotted, which means that Clotted should stay alive for a good amount of time. And as we can see, if it just pausing here, deal quite a lot of damage. It's actually a competition between Clotted and Yam to deal that damage. Eclair's behind there in the dust, even with running attack searing toppings as far as damage output. So really Eclair's mostly there for shield coverage and debuffing the other opponents so that they do take more damage. So it's just a good blending and synergy of a team to help push through the waves as quick as possible. Because you have to remember, even if you run other teams that can handle the waves, if you don't have speed, you're also going to be running into issues because your points depend on how fast you clear and if your team stays alive or not. So if you can accomplish both of those, you'll get the most point output that you can for Season 9 of Alliance. I do want to hear your opinion in the comments and your feedback. Is there a specific team that you are using? Is there a team that you think you have much better success rate with? Are you a free-to-play player and you don't have some of the magic candy cookies, you don't have some of the super epics, or you don't have ancient cookies? What are the teams you're running? I'd love to hear. I'd love to see what you're doing. This is the team that I think will carry you through a majority of the waves if you set it up correctly. And as you can see, we're only about 2 minutes in and we're already at least 25 waves done. We've got 60 to go completely, but we are moving at a pretty good pace. And that robes is helping for our attack speed output to continue that up. So if we look here, Clotted is still doing the most damage because of that boost from Financer. But the healing, look at this. The healing, it's a pretty heavy tie between them. Mostly just because we're not getting enough damage to really start shifting the scales on that. But nonetheless, it's a good strong battle between the three heals as well. Cream Unicorn thankfully does so much more than heals. You also get critical resistance. You get the damage resistance buffs applied to your team too. So it's so helpful. Cream Unicorn is still one of my favorite healers. I love that they finally came out with another healer. I love that they gave so much utility to it. Truly a real favorite. So hopefully we can see much more fun healing iterations like Cream Unicorn in the future. Even if they do different things, just the flexibility of their build, that's what's really so fun about it. Now we're at wave 32 here. Yam's definitely taking a lot of damage. We've got a lot of different waves that specifically focus in on frontal damage, so Yam is definitely taking that beating. And the only one healing Yam is either Yam's Magic Candy or Cream Unicorn. So we are relying on that damage resistance from the Magic Candy to keep Yam alive, in addition to the toppings that we have on Yam as well, which we can discuss after the run, because I'm sure that you guys are like, well, what's the toppings? Don't worry, we'll talk about that. Now, as we get further, we are still going to have to switch to our speed team come wave 44, just because that team needs such quick output that you really don't want to risk losing your main guys just to that wave. So it's a high recommendation to make that shift to that team when you get to wave 44. And I don't mean like wait until the end. I mean like right as you're ready to switch to that wave, make that switch. This is a hard wave to ride because it will attack your lowest HP user, but it is something you can get through if you're able to withstand. You can technically at wave 43 switch to a speed team as well, because it is speed users, but it's really up to you of which you think is going to be more beneficial. If you need the speed output, like your team can't handle it, or if you think that your main team is going to be able to handle it, which I believe mine should be able to. So I'm not going to put too much pressure and focus on switching to that team right away. And then we're going to switch so that we get those speed skills starting upward, that we can just take out this boss as quick as possible. And then, as you can see, just very quick, massive damage from that boss. Just completely all over the board. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that Eclair has lost a vitality in the meta. I think that Eclair is better suited in specific PvP builds, maybe a lot of PvE story mode setups, but I think the vitality overall from Eclair has decreased just because of the way all the updates have happened and what's happened completely as well. Eclair's still a really good cookie, so is Cotton, but both of them are starting to exit the meta to where I'm not seeing them nearly as much. So I'm starting to put more focus on other units taking that spot. One of them being Oyster. Oyster's a super powerful unit. Obviously, Oyster is a super epic, and that does not mean it's someone you can easily get and raise. But I think that Oyster does what you want Eclair to do without being as kind of squishy. And obviously you need damage resistance to make that a true statement on Oyster. But if you can get 30% damage resistance and 25% cooldown, which is a hard sell. That's a hard setup to do. But if you can do both, then you can make a really powerful Oyster, and not only do you raise the critical chances of your entire team, but you raise the critical power too. So it's a really good pairing, and it's something I think you should consider as a replacement for Eclair if you are running into situations where Eclair is just not cutting it or just not powerful enough anymore for you. It's definitely something you should at least consider. Now, as you can see, we're up to wave 49 here. Still working out the kinks of the perfect team setups to push through further. Like I said, I think I'm going to change Oyster over for Eclair on the main team to just take it even further in the waves and the damage. But the teams that we do have set up, they handle pretty well. Team 2 is a pretty powerful team as well. You got really great damage resistance from Hollyberry. Doesn't do great against something like this, which is damage over time, but it works for the pinches that you need it for. But it looks like wave 50 is going to be the wave that we're tapping out at, which we will be right here. But as always, I love your feedback. I love your opinion on the teams that you're running, the setup that you think is best, just to show you the analytics on the damage and the healing done in this run as well. We're just going to go into the details. And you can see the Clotted was clearly doing insane damage. Same with Yam. Eclair wasn't necessarily doing bad damage, but definitely not nearly as enough as the other two. And even damage received was highly in the focus of Yam and Financer. And great healing done from everybody too. So it's a strong team. I think, once again, I'm going to probably replace Eclair with Oyster to really take the team to the highest point. But I'd, of course, love your feedback and opinions to see what you think is an optimal main team to get through this Season 9 Alliance mode. What do you think is going to be the best setup? Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope this is helpful to you, and have a wonderful day.